No place for Ozil in the starting lineup. Mkhitaryan playing from the start, and really, guys, it was a gift, wasn't it? The way they took the lead. Ben Foster almost offering it up on a plate.
Yeah, well, he's balancing the Napoli games, obviously. I mean, I was disappointed to see Ramsey not play at Everton a week or so ago when they lost. They didn't play well, and then they had back in the side for the...
Yeah, Aubameyang getting the goal, and then Troy Deeney making life even better for Arsenal, getting himself sent off, Stevie.
Yeah, and again, we've been talking about their away form.
Yeah.
But they ain't going to play against 10 men every time they go away, and they're not going to be giving goals, because that's how they won this game. You would not have... If you'd watched this game and you didn't know Deeney had been sent off, you wouldn't actually have been able to tell that it was 11 v 10.
Right.
So Arsenal are absolutely fortunate. And Troy Deeney, I've heard a lot of nonsense about you have to intentionally throw your arm or, because you make contact doesn't...
But he wasn't challenging for the ball. The ball was on the ground and it was away. And the other side of the coin is, and I've heard this nonsensical argument that, well, Torreira's quite small, and so that's why he is. Well, it was what he is. That's why his swinging arm.
Yeah.
And it looked more of a forearm, but it was a swinging forearm, caught him in the head. Well, because it's small, and he didn't intend to catch him in the head, but because he's small, it did, and that's unfortunate. But that's not part of the laws.
Yeah.
You have to factor these things in, And as I've said all along, listen, when a player goes to make a challenge, be in the penalty box or whatever, he intends to play the ball. He generally doesn't intend to take the man down and give a penalty away. But it's no excuse after after it happens to say to the referee, well, listen, he was a bit too quick for me. I didn't intend to take him down, but I did. So therefore, there's no penalty.
And the ball had gone long before. And Troy Deeney had actually announced his intentions quite publicly after the last win. Whenever I play against Arsenal, Deeney, I'll go up and think, let me whack the first one and see who wants it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a clever thing to say.
Did it play into anything to do with this red card? I mean, obviously, he set out to...
Listen, Troy Deeney's a physical player. Yep. So, regardless of the opposition, the only thing you know is Troy Deeney is going to challenge physically, and he's going to make sure you know that he's there. But you can go too far.
Yeah.
And he went too far. And actually, it wasn't even the referee that gave the red card. It was the linesman who was, 30 yards away that gave the decision. Because quite frankly, I thought the referee was awful.
And but you just can't. Look. You can't throw your arms in people's faces with reckless abandon when you're not challenging the scheme of things. As Watford don't lose many at home in the Premier League. The last time they lost at home was to Chelsea in the Premier League, and that was before Christmas. There's a reason they're in the FA Cup final, because they're very well organised. Steve mentioned they're physical, and they've been over physical tonight. That's why Deeney's been sent off. He'll need to have a rethink about that, because we like physicality, but the laws are the laws. They're well organised. They're big and strong in midfield. They defend well. They'll get it down and they'll pass, and they can cause you problems. But the bottom line here is Arsenal get on the bus, the short trip from Watford to London Colney, their training ground, with 3 points, and I'm not sure Unai Emery will be too fussed about how they got it done, because they were not convincing. No. But they haven't convinced all year on the road.
Right.
That's why their away form is miles behind the other teams in the top 6. Yeah. So, all in all, not a good performance, but a great 3 points.
All about getting the 3 points, as I said, which is exactly what United did. Similarly, in convincing fashion on Saturday. The top 4 now looking like this. It's the shifting sands, really, isn't it? It seems to change every week as to what team we think is in the ascendancy. Chelsea, the big losers of the weekend, really. When you look at the run-ins now, let's stay with Arsenal for now.
I think Palace will be a tough game away.
Yeah, and 2 tough road games too, Wolves and Leicester.
Wolves are out the FA Cup, so, you might think, well, are they on the beach already? But that's a bit early.
Palace and Brighton at home, you'd think would be wins.
There's one thing, the only thing you know is Sean Dyche and his Burnley side, whether it's the last game of the season and they're safe or not, are going to absolutely 100% be physical and get after you. That's the only thing that you can guarantee with that game.
Yeah. Looking at the other contenders for the top 4, Spurs.
Well, I think
with the 3 home games.
I think Spurs. I think we all think. Most of the lads think Spurs should be pretty okay.
Yeah.
Looking at Man United away at Everton, the way they're playing at the moment, they're not playing well. They're getting results, but they have not played well against the likes of Watford and West Ham at home. And Man City at home, and then Chelsea at home. I think that's putting them at peril. Because they're already playing catch-up in terms of the points.
Yeah.
They've got the least amount of points. I don't fancy them in the Manchester derby. I just don't. 10 days, 2 weeks. West Ham dominated them. Watford dominated them at home. And they've City at full strength. I can't actually see how they're going to get a foothold in that game.
I think the last time we tried to bring any order to this, Spurs and Chelsea was the consensus pick to finish top four. Has that changed at all?
No, not at all.
That was before tonight's result.
No, not at all.
No.
Same argument.
Chelsea.
Same arguments. The way Arsenal played away from home, they still got tough games to play away. Yes, they did win. Absolutely not convincing. Man United, no idea what you're going to get from them right now. That's why I'm sticking with Chelsea and Spurs.
Anything changed for you?
No, barely.
No. Yeah.
Well, it changes most weeks at the moment, if I'm being honest with you, because I had Arsenal in a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm kind of swaying towards Chelsea, purely because Arsenal's away form. A great result tonight, but you can't keep playing like that on the road. And getting that amount of luck, when you see what Foster did, it was just crazy.
I think all we can say for certain is it looks like it's going to go to the final weekend of the season. If you ever miss an edition of the show, you can catch the audio version, the podcast available every day on iTunes. Now, with apologies to Brighton against Cardiff, most eyes will be on the Champions League tomorrow. Now, with apologies to Brighton against Cardiff, most eyes will be on the Champions League tomorrow. Barcelona and Manchester United, second leg of the quarter-final at the Nou Camp. Barcelona rather prohibitive favourites, as you can see, 1-16 on. You can get 9-1 on Manchester United overturning that 1-0 first leg deficit. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he has a cunning plan. Well, actually, he said I have a decent plan, and then he backtracked still a little more and said, well, I hope it's decent. It's a plan, anyway.
At least he's got a plan.
Yes. I think the plan revolves actually trying to keep a clean sheet. Is that...
I mean, people look too much into these things when managers say, I've got a plan. There's only so many things you can do.
Right.
You can play a back three, you can play a back four, you can play a back five, you can leave one up. You know, there's only so many things you can do on the field. Look, they're going to be defending deep. They're not going to have much of the ball. And I think they're going to find a Barcelona team that's a step quicker than they were at Old Trafford. And Lionel Messi had quite a quiet, although he created some stuff for them, and I think he created the goal, and his general play was quite quiet. I don't expect that to happen again.
Problem is, while United were labouring to win against West Ham, Barcelona were able to rest all of their stars, weren't they?
Yeah, that definitely helps, but I mean, I'll be absolutely shocked if United don't go about it the way it did against PSG. And that is with Rashford and Lukaku starting up high, trying to put pressure on Barcelona, trying not to let them come out the back or even steal it themselves. But the one thing United have to do is any sniff they get of an opportunity, they have to take it. They got 3 at PSG and took every one of them. That's what they're going to have to do again. And that is without letting Barcelona at the back of the net. If they thought PSG was difficult, this is going to be even harder.
When you think about that game in real terms, you know, you think about Kehrer, the full-back with the sloppy pass that gifted Lukaku. Then you think it Buffon with the Rashford strike. As good a strike as it was from Rashford, he threw it into the net. Right, so you're against the 8-ball straight away if you're PSG, and Man United haven't had to do anything. I don't think like the penalty at the end, which I thought was some did something. I thought it was a penalty, but it fell on the lap. You've got to ask yourself, is that going to happen again at the Camp Nou? And I think the probable answer is no.
Can they put behind what was a woeful, almost dreadful performance against West Ham, one they ultimately got a victory out of? Does that matter? Does this play into this at all?
Not that one game.
No.
You know, had they previously, you know, had won 4 of the previous 5, and this was just one of those days where you can maybe say, well, they're looking ahead to the Barcelona game. But the fact is, for the last 6-7 games, Manchester United have been extremely poor, regardless of who the opposition is. So how they can all of a sudden just flick a switch and all of a sudden they're going to be at their best, and then they're away at Barcelona. I mean, the reason the odds are what they are with the bookies is because that's true.
I might be wrong, Ed. Your memory is your memory better than mine?
Nah,
they were up.
I've forgotten.
That's not good.
They were up to third. They were up to third, weren't they?
Yes.
Oh,
They were up to third at one point.
Yep.
So that was huge momentum swing and fair play. But then the air started coming out the balloon a little bit, as I've mentioned before. They prematurely gave him the job, in my opinion. And now all of a sudden they're back in six. They're chasing their tail again, as Stevie said. They haven't played well. And you're expecting a team that has been dominated recently by Watford and West Ham at home to go to the Camp Nou being behind already and get a result. Honestly, it's not impossible, but it's improbable.
Oh, and by the way, Barcelona 30 games unbeaten at home in the Champions League. Bayern in the 2013 semis, the last team to go there and win. The other semi-final, much more evenly poised. Ajax and Juventus 1-1 after their first leg in Amsterdam. As you can see, Juventus still prohibitive favourites with the second leg at home. Ajax, though, only 2-1 outsiders. And, you know, when you look at what they've done away from home in the Champions League, of course, the 4-1 win at the Bernabeu. They also went to Benfica and to Bayern Munich. They got 1-1 draws. This is a team.
This game could be over before there's a ball kicked. Because if De Jong for Ajax is not fit, this team has no chance of beating United. Every single thing this team does goes through De Jong. And if he's not on the field, I really don't know how they win.
And he limped off on Saturday.
Well, they're saying,
a little bit of a
I mean,
hamstring.
I don't know, but they're saying he might be fit.
Yeah.
And some of the
he came off after 28 minutes.
Some of the press releases are saying he might be fit. Listen, their other issue is they're fighting tooth and nail with PSV for the title in Holland, and that's the only difference is goal difference. You've got Juve who've got Serie A wrapped up, so they've only got one focus now, and it's the Champions League. Ajax are fighting on a couple of fronts. I expect Juve to go through because of their experience and their quality, but their experience and the way they came back against Atleti in the last game was amazing. Of course, your man Ronaldo got the hat-trick. He always turns up. But this is a good shot in the arm for Dutch football because it's a really good Ajax side, good to watch, prepared to play in that style that we've become accustomed to them in their successful years. And as Stevie mentioned, and De Jong, who's gone to Barcelona, we have a wonderful young talent. And Tadic as well. Tadic is a guy who was a good player at Southampton, but we saw him at the Bernabeu and he looked $1 million.
Yeah, De Jong has travelled with the squad, but remains in doubt. You mentioned...
Do you know what? I'll be surprised if they don't play him because it's one of those situations. You will take a gamble in such a big game if you're a coach. You will.
Yeah.
And he'll probably start the game. But the chances, in my opinion, of him lasting are way.
It's described as a muscular injury. The other side of the coin is Juventus were able to rest everyone.
But listen, and again, as Stevie said, you know, I know they're going for the title, and that is something to think about, but it's a quarter-final of the Champions League second leg.
Yeah.
You tell them you're fit. I mean, it's not saying it's right, but I think they will take a chance with them.
Is it another Ronaldo show in the offing tomorrow, do you think? After his hat-trick against Atletico?
Do you know what? They might not need Ronaldo.
Yeah.
But the one thing you do know, if for some strange reason something special is needed, there's only one man for the job.
Do you know, Ajax took Real Madrid apart. They took them apart.
Demolished them, didn't they?
Absolutely, tore them to shreds. But they've been all over the parish this year. Juve are organised, amongst other things. When they have to defend, they know how to get the job done because they've got good defenders. Real Madrid don't have good defenders. That's the difference.
The odds makers clearly think there's, only 2-1.
No, I think there's a chance
Ajax.
because they'll go and play.
Yeah.
But
they will go and play.
No question. And I think the fact that Juventus went ahead and then maybe took the foot off the gas, maybe underestimating Ajax, again, that'll go against Ajax because now they will know that this team can play. And if they let them play, then they could hurt them, which is why there is no way they're going to lose concentration from the first to the last second.
So, final word, Juventus and Barcelona?
Yeah, just with their experience of how to get the job done and a little bit extra quality against a side that are a little bit younger, learning, improving, but on the road in Turin, I just don't think they'll have enough.
Look,
even with De Jong, I don't think they won it. But without him, or without a fully fit De Jong, I don't see it.
A lot of people fancy a Juventus-Barcelona final, don't they? We'll see if they both make it through to the semis tomorrow.
Not me.
No, it won't. Said some, not everyone. Extra time. Craig Burley's beard, always a regular contributor in terms of providing the questions. We'll see if he provides one today. You can see it on YouTube. Well, there was La Liga action on that Monday as well. A bit of a local derby. Real Madrid going to the outskirts of the capital city and only getting a 1-1 draw against Leganes. In fact, they were down in that game for a lot of it. Karim Benzema rescuing a point. Gareth Bale didn't start, came off the bench late on. Keeps them 4 points behind Atletico Madrid. Of course, the league title well out of reach. Does it matter at this stage, guys? Or is Zinedine Zidane just kind of auditioning players, getting ready for next year?
He's not getting a tune. No manager is getting a tune out of this group next year. So it only tells you one thing, and I think he knew that anyway when he came back.
Him. Now, of course, regardless of what does happen, you know he's going to be there next year.
Yeah.
But as Craig said, the only thing that can happen is new faces and plenty of them, because this team is absolutely lost. You know, it's just bland. Everything about them is bland now. Even the strip they're wearing, it's like you wouldn't even. Who's this mob?
The red kits,
Yeah,
it is surreal.
Well, they don't look as if they've got the desire to do it anymore, which is strange because it's a team that it's been there, seen it, and done it, and it just seems now it's time for a few of them to move on, and you know it's all going to come down to money. It's all going to come down to money, and if Florentino Perez doesn't come up with the players for Zinedine Zidane, then he'll be in a similar situation to the managers earlier this year.
You know, for a team with the names on the back of the jerseys that Real Madrid has, I can't imagine how awful training must be, because when you see them playing, you always play the way you train, and so training must be bland and boring as well, because they're just not interested. They just don't seem to be invested in it.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult to change for any manager, regardless of how good you are.
Such a weird situation, isn't it? I mean, having nothing to play for at this stage in the season. On the next edition of ESPN FC, we'll have plenty to play for. We'll have the Champions League quarter-finals to review, the second legs in Barcelona and in Turin. Important Monday night game in Serie A at the top, and Empoli, who got a vital point in their battle against the drop, but that is not what Atalanta were looking for. The team from Bergamo staying in 6th place, still 2 points behind Milan. Inter looking safer now for a top 4 spot. We've still got Milan, Roma, Atalanta, Torino, even Lazio in the hunt for the top 4. Milan had that big win over the weekend, didn't they, against Lazio?
Do you know, I'm a little surprised at Atalanta. They were sitting on the cusp in 5th at one point, and I thought, this team looks solid. They don't give too much away, and they've
been scoring goals for fun.
Yeah,
as well,
they've been exciting going forward. So this results come out from the blue for me.
Well, that's what happens sometimes when you're fighting against a team that's fighting for their life.
Yeah. Almost better to play the teams in the middle of the pack.
Play the ones that I've got out to play for, and it's usually. But Atalanta, as you say, have been a free-scoring team for most of the year. Now they need the goals between now and end of the season. Obviously, they're very much still in with the hunt, as are 4 or 5 clubs.
Yeah.
But to get into that Champions League for them would be huge.
You want to play the Italian Bournemouth, don't you, at this stage of the season? So, final thoughts for the day. Looking forward to tomorrow, the games in Barcelona and Turin. Which one's going to be the better game, do you think?
I think the Ajax-Juve game might be the better game, because I think they'll play a wee bit more open. I expect Man United to be sitting in and having to contend with a lot of Barca possession.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. There's no question Man United are going to sit tight. Ajax absolutely won't.
Thank you very much indeed. Gents, we'll be back to review all the Champions League action, same place, same time tomorrow. Welcome into Extra Time. Little golf theme to the first question today. Still can't believe Molinari blew it.
I would talk about golf all extra time.
He didn't blow it.
Well, he did. Well, he didn't help himself, did he? Hitting it in the water.
That was a good compromise, wasn't it?
Hitting in the water is a subject I'm very familiar with, and that's what he did. So, talking about what happened yesterday, which down-and-out footballer would you most like to see make a Tiger Woods-style comeback?
Balotelli.
There you go.
Balotelli.
Perfect
I mean,
answer. Is he down and out enough, though? I mean, he's still...
Oh, listen, he's about as far away from the top of the tree. Really?
Might say he's still... I mean, it's not the top of the tree, but it's still a decent club.
Oh, he's what, halfway up the tree then? Or he's halfway down, depending on what you want. But no, he'd be great. I used to love watching Balotelli, and I used to laugh every time he took a penalty. He's just entertaining. Everything about him.
Yeah.
On the field was entertaining.
That's a really good call, I got to say.
Yeah.
No, because I'm struggling. You get anybody? Help me out. Buy me some time.
Joey Barton, he's pretty down and out at the moment, isn't he? He's in a bit of trouble. I think he's beyond the comeback, though, at this stage, isn't he? That's the trouble. It doesn't really happen with footballers the same way, does it? Because if you're out, you're out. You never make... Who? Oh, Ravel Morris?
I said, no, what a comeback. Brazilian, centre forward, started at Milan.
Pato.
What a return that would be.
Yeah. Where did he go, by the way?
Pato.
Yeah.
That would be
Alvaro
another.
Morata.
He's on his way down. He's not quite...
Oh, he's not down, right?
Not quite...
Yeah.
All right.
Tevez. Guess he's still playing, isn't he? But it just
he's
doesn't
finishing his career, isn't he? He went to China, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's not...
All right. Craig Anderson says, if either of you guys could pick a current player to play with in your most successful teams, thinking Stevie with Liverpool, Craig with Celtic, who would you pick?
One player. Messi.
Yeah. I know you've said Van Dijk at times when you've been asked similar questions. What defender would you have liked to play with?
Well, to be fair, you can't. I like Van Dijk, but he's not as good as Messi.
No. I mean, Messi's an easy answer to that.
Yeah, I mean...
Put your feet up.
I'm just thinking how many goals Henrik Larsson would have scored on top of the gazillions he did score if he had Lionel Messi playing behind him.
Yeah.
Rather than me and a few other doubles.
Yeah.
Try to clip the ball over the top from.
So who would have been edged out of those teams to make way for Messi? Who would have been on the bench in your best teams?
Well, you'd have to change the way we'd have to change the way we played. We'd have to go on with three up front. Yeah. I mean, you can't shove Rossi or Kenny Dalglish out the road.
Be tough, wouldn't it?
I mean, it would be a little harsh on either of the two of them, wouldn't it? Well, you'd change the way you played.
Yeah.
You'd have some sort of a 4-3-2-1, maybe something like that. So then it'd be one of your midfielders that would have to drop out.
You might have, particularly in his Liverpool team, you'd have to have a conversation about just resting you this week.
Right.
Yeah.
To get the wee man a game.
Well, the problem is you couldn't. Back then, nobody wanted to be rested. Did they?
No. Plus, you only had one sub.
If he said to you, "I'm going to rest you," but hold on, no, you're not. You're getting rid of me.
They dropped me.
There was no squad rotation.
No.
You only had one sub for a long time you were playing.
No.
Messi.
Yes.
Do you know what used to be? Do you know what used to be the worst ever? Was getting substituted during a game.
Right. If you were the only one
the walk
to
off,
get the hook.
The walk off felt embarrassing. Getting the hook. I remember I got the hook when I played for Doncaster Rovers, by the way.
Right.
No way.
No, I got the hook. Aye. Ian Snodden and his brother were the manager at the time. No, I wasn't having my finest game, I will admit, but still. So substituted in a non-league game, I was like,
Snod's hooked you?
Aye.
Sorry, like, you must have said something to him on the way off.
No, the whole way I'm going, right, hey, take it the right way. Just, hey, who do you think you are? Who do you think you're, Big Bertie Spuds, or, you're just out, sit on the bench. I mean, I was seething, but
when Glenn Hoddle was player manager at Chelsea, before he went on to take the England job, he was player manager at the end of his career. Well, he was at the end of his career. And he went through a patch of bringing himself on.
I think I remember him doing that. Yeah.
Usually around 80 minutes when everybody else was knackered, to do a bit of what Glenn did.
Yep.
And it went through a patch. It was always me coming off from. Back in the day, we didn't. Before the electronic numbers were going up, they had like numbers that come out. I don't know.
But just a board.
A board.
Yeah. Just a board with a number
and
on.
As I was coming off, I didn't quite get his. Don't say anything, let it go. And I said to him, as he was coming on, I said, "Is that the only bleep number you've got in that bag?"
Meaning your number or his number?
No, mine. Number 24. He says, "Is that the only number?" I swore. and he didn't take it too well.
No.
I couldn't help myself.
Right.
Because it would happen in regular.
It wasn't Glenn that then shipped you off to Celtic, was it? Oh no, that was rude.
No, it was rude. No, Glenn got the England
It was
job.
very rude, I thought.
Well, he didn't.
Very rude.
Very rude.
Hold on.
Maybe that's not quite the right phrase.
He didn't
but...
ship me off to Celtic. It was called a transfer.
Right. Yes, talking of transfers, thank you for the segue. James says this: if Manchester United play in the Europa League next season, distinct possibility, will Pogba and De Gea leave for Real Madrid this summer to avoid the obvious time-consuming rebuild the club requires? Is that what it's going to come down to, Man United making the Champions League or Europa League? With the Pogba
Pogba's going anywhere. Pogba's going nowhere.
No.
Manchester United cannot afford to be losing the best players. They need to try and add to the good players they have. Now, regardless of whether you think Pogba's had a great season or an average season, he's one of their best players. And if they want to start, number one, being comfortably in the top 4 and comfortably playing Champions League every year, you can't get rid of people like Pogba. Right. De Gea can't go to Real Madrid.
How many goalies do they want?
Well, exactly. So
the issue with De Gea, though, is money, because, and I'm not saying he's out for the money, but he's out to look after himself, and United have given themselves a big problem by shelling out huge, vast amounts of salary on Alexis Sanchez, who's not playing. You may say, well, what's that got to do with it? Well, the top players at the club then go in for the new contract and say, I want parity with him. Why should I, as the Spanish number 1 and Man United number 1 of the best goalkeepers in the world, why should I be paid less than a guy who can't even cut the mustard at this club?
Right.
And so that's the issue for Man United, particularly with De Gea.
And with Man United as well, you've actually got to think about this and say, well, you know, do we make a stance and not cave into De Gea's demands? Knowing that if you do, you better remember, the reason you're even fighting for top 4, the reason you've been in top 4 previous years is because of De Gea. So do you try and be stubborn and lose the money from the Champions League, or do you just pay him a good amount? If I'm Man United, I do not. Do you see this? Do you remember the save he made at the weekend?
Oh yeah.
I mean, seriously.
No, he's still.
If I'm Man United,
Still right up there with the best, isn't he?
hey, I pay up.
Yeah.
Solskjaer can't afford, as Stevie said, to lose his best players.
No.
He's building, not
Dismantling it.
taking it apart.
We've saved the really meaty issue, and I mean meaty issue, for the last question of the day from Birdie, and it's addressed to Stevie, but we'll all weigh on it.
No, well, yeah, he's been addressed to Stevie.
Stevie, steak or fish and chips? It's
I
quite
have
as
to
simple
tell
as
you,
that.
I'd have to say steak and chips.
I don't know if that's the option. Although you would assume that steak would come with some sort of potato. Right.
You cannot get fish and chips the way they used to be made when I was a kid.
Right.
It's not the same.
You're talking out of the bag,
I'm talking out of the bag, the way it's cooked, the whole shebang. It's not made the same.
Right.
It doesn't taste the same. So I'm going with steak and chips with a nice sauce with it.
Yeah.
Well done, of course.
You can't have steak and chips.
Aye.
I don't mean over fish and chips, but I mean you just can't have.
Well, that's the question.
All right.
Steak and chips.
So if
fish
you
and
were
chips.
going out, would you have chips? Well, for Americans, it's fries.
Right.
For everybody else that's watching this, it's
Yeah.
chips. Would you have chips with your steak if you were out?
If I was out,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even. How can you have chips with your steak?
Why wouldn't you have chips
in
with
France
steak?
they do. It's the old steak frite, isn't it? I mean, that's what they.
Use chips with everything.
Now I'll
That's-
tell you what.
Maybe have some mashed
there actually
potato or
could be
some
actually-
something nice with a steak.
There
Nice
actually
steak.
could be something that swings this, you know.
Shepherd's pie.
No. If it's homemade.
Yeah. Fish and chips takes it.
Well, it's proper chips. We make.
The big chunky, you
make
chop the
proper-
potatoes
yeah,
up,
proper
put them in the
homemade
fryer.
Proper homemade chips that you make on your own.
Gets the oil.
Yeah.
Right. Well, not him. His other half.
Shad.
Gets. That's why this,
Somebody applies
this-
the oil.
This is why this man looks as healthy as he does, because everything in that house is cooked with bundles and bundles of oil.
It's supposed to stuff.
It's cholesterol city at his house. You can, as soon as you walk in, it hits you.
Yeah.
If you're going to eat, you may as well enjoy it.
Very fair
would you-
comment
no.
indeed.
Right.
Very fair comment. You might as well.
Tell you what, I don't want that fish and chips. I'll have that lettuce and those tomatoes because they look lovely.
Right.
Right.
And I wonder, is there a different answer to this question depending on whether we're in the US or the UK?
I don't eat chips much.
No, I said at the start,
In
they
the
don't
UK,
make
fish and
they don't
chips
make
is-
fish and chips
they don't
the
make
same
it
way.
the same way here.
No.
No,
It's
they
still
get
so.
the chip shops.
Yeah.
Go down to chip shop.
Oh, the chippies in Troon were Italian.
Right.
What were they in common? Back when I was a kid, all the chip shops were owned by
They had-
Italians.
they had the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like over here, I'd say steak by a country mile. Fish and chips.
But it's like a bit of a thing
in
back
the
in, or it wasn't. It's like a bit of a thing for, particularly for our parents, is they go to the chip shop the same day every week.
Mm-hmm.
It's either like if my mum and dad, it was a Friday night or a Saturday night. I can't remember, but that was
Tuesday was that.
fish and chip shop night.
Yeah. And did you have chippies that opened up like 4 or 5 different times a day? Their opening times were like 11:30 to 1, and then 3 to 4:30, and then 5:30 to 6.
I think that was just to confuse you.
It was like all the different times you could have.
Hey, here he's
It was
coming.
like your lunch,
Here
your
he's coming.
tea,
Shut the
your
shop.
supper. It opened up 5 different times, the chip.
I have no idea.
No?
No idea.
I was very used to those opening hours.
Yeah, it's just different.
chip shop.
Different food. It's not the healthiest.
Yeah.
That's what he
I
likes.
know they were open.
Pickled onion in with the chips.
I know they were open after the pub shut. I know that much.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks, Bertie, for taking us down culinary memory lane with that one. Lovely stuff. We'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow. We've lots to tuck into from the Champions League, I do believe. On the next edition of the show, we will see you then.